morning to all of you. Today we are going to see question answer based on The Little Match Girl. Read the extract and answer the following questions. I have written the first and the last part of that passage. She had been wearing slippers, had children of his own. Number A. What type of weather has been described in this extract? The weather was extremely cold and it was completely dark. As it was the last evening of the year, the snow was falling heavily and everything seemed to be freezing. The sky was covered with dark clouds. There was chill in the atmosphere and shivering cold had restricted people to move out of their homes. Only few people were seen on the road. It was gloomy and fearful atmosphere. Number B. In what condition was the little child moving in the streets? The little child was moving in the streets through the biting wind and driving snow. The snowfall of the last day of the year was excessively heavy, and as the evening approached, it became almost dark as compared to the other evenings. From her appearance, it seemed as if she belonged to a very poor family, otherwise, no one would have dared to come out of their house in such a harsh weather. Number C. How could you make out that the girl belonged to a poor family? The little girl was out of her house without enough warm clothes to protect her from chilly winter evening. She had nothing to cover her head or her feet. She had lost her slippers also, and so she had to walk on her naked feet, which ultimately became red and blue with cold. Number D. Why was the poor child walking barefoot and bareheaded in the streets in such harsh weather? The little girl was among the few people who were run on the roads in the biting cold weather. There must be some genuine reason for which she was out in the streets, and it was clear from seeing her tattered clothes. She was wearing an old apron in which she carried several packages of matches. She held a box of them in her hand for selling, but no one had bought any box from her since morning. As she did not get a single cent, she did not dare to go back home. Number E. What has happened to her slippers? Why were they of no use for her? The poor little girl was walking in the streets barefoot. It was obvious that when she had left her house in the morning, she might be wearing them, but they were not too much of use for her, as they were her mother's and too big for her. Also, she had lost one while crossing the road where two carriages had rattled by speedily. She had not been able to find the slipper. Another was taken away by one boy who told that he would use it as a cradle in future for his children, and so she walked on her naked feet. Extract 2. Lights were shining in every window, not a single penny. How has the atmosphere been set up in the given passage? The passage presents the picture of the miserable child. She is walking very slowly or on the road due to extreme cold and hunger. She had beautiful long hair which hung in pretty curls over her neck and were covered with snowflakes. It was getting dark, so the houses were lit up. In all the windows of the houses, the light was shining, and wonderful smell of roast goose was coming out as it was New Year's Eve. The poor little creature were perishing with cold, and is the picture of misery. Question 2. Why did writer say that she did not think of her appearance now? The little girl crept along the streets, shivering and hungry, with the hope of selling at least few packs of matchsticks, but nobody had bought any from her. She was presented as a picture of misery. She kept on trying despite the extremely cold weather. The snowflakes fell on her long golden hair, which curled so prettily about her neck, but she did not think of her appearance now. The only thing that captured her mind was to sell the matchboxes anyhow. Question 3. What did a little girl do to keep herself warm? Did it help her? On the New Year's Eve, a few days after Christmas, when everyone was in festive mood and cuddled in their houses, the miserable child was on the streets. When she could not stand the cold anymore, she found a place in a corner formed by two houses, one of which projected further out into the street than the other. She tucked her little legs up under her to feel warm, but it did not do good, and still she felt colder and colder. Question 4. Why could the little girl not go home in spite of extremely bad weather? The little poor child was out in the street barefoot and bareheaded to sell the matchboxes which she carried in her old apron. She had been trying to sell these boxes since morning but did not succeed till evening. In spite of harsh or inclement weather, she could not go home because of the fear of her father's beating. She knew that as she had not sold a single matchbox, as a result of which she had not earned a single cent, her father would surely scold and beat her. So she found a corner formed by two houses and sat down there, drawing up her little feet under her. Question 5. What was the other reason for which she did not want to go home? It was not comfortable there. They had a roof through which the wind passes. The cracks had been stuffed with straw and rags. Extract 3. She pulled dash dash. Oh, how wonderful that was. What did the poor child do to warm herself up? Extraordinary chill had created numbness in the hands of the little girl. Although she had the whole bundle of matchboxes in her hand, still she thought that how much warmth she could get from them. She then thought of lighting a single match by rubbing it against the wall she was sitting near to warm up her hands. She drew one matchstick from the box and burnt it. It gave a strange and wonderful light. For her, it was like as if a drowning man has caught hold of a straw. It seemed to her that she was sitting in front of an iron stove and felt comfortable. There are some more questions based on this lesson. We will see in the next video. That's all for today. Thank you.